What's up, everybody? Hold on, let me set this up too. I'm trying to do a podcast and a video at the same time. Okay, recording. What up, what up? So we got KL Phoenix Rollers, the viewers, and we got the Roller Agenda listeners, all tuning in at the same time. So I was thinking last night when I was at home, and I started writing some stuff down, right? So when I got to the point when I was pretty good with rollers, like pretty good and doing well, so I think, how did I actually get there, right? So there was a process I followed that wasn't a set process, just something I did. Maybe it can help you guys out too, because I had to go back and rethink and go back to that process, which is what I did. So what I did was I broke it down to the way I saw competition, how good could I actually get? I mean, how good could I really get? I mean, could I be the best, or could I just be really good and be able to fly amongst the best? And I'm talking about how my thought process and all that, and what did I do? You know what I'm saying? Who did I talk to get information from? Who I asked questions the most? So, first of all, I always liked birds to roll frequent. I always tell you guys that. I never liked seldom pigeons. Even as a kid, I like constant activity, right? Like people say, oh, the speed is the best thing. Well, who the hell wants a bird that flies 30 minutes and rolls real fast one time in 30 minutes? I mean, so if you're doing something, you look down, and spin 20 feet, look back up, you miss. So now you don't see no more activity, period. I mean, it might have been a blur, but what difference will it make if you can't see it? So even though that was where I wanted to go, I never stopped there, or I never settled just for that. But I always wanted birds that always work no matter what. So the best birds are 2.0. Give me a whole loft, a whole kit full of 1.5s and 1.6s that roll all the time. Because if you think about it, most people get the average quality period across the board is a 1.3 average, 1.3, 1.35 average. So what? I mean, I ain't never seen nobody get 2.0. I take it back half, but it wasn't 2.0. It was only probably 1.6 at best. But they gave him a 2.0 and a 2.0, which was unheard of, but okay. So anyway, I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is, how did I actually get to a point where I was considered good? Not great, not phenomenal, just to where I was considered just good. How did I get there? First of all the stuff I talk about sometimes about expression, type, I didn't go by too much of none of that. I mean, I didn't like geeky looking birds with skinny necks and long pencil beaks, but didn't have to be looked. They had to be these perfect expression birds before. Didn't have to look like that. Their bodies weren't perfect apple, but they were built. Look at it, you can know it's a roller. I can always recognize birds that were rollers, even if there was a check amongst all commies that wasn't banded. That's how I picked some really good rollers out of Red Wing before. I went to the cage with commies in it. And I'm looking at these birds. I'm looking at this bird. That bird right there is not a commie. You know what I'm saying? So at a young age, I was able to identify a roller no matter what color it was. So I identified the bird, took it home, kept it in the cage for about 2 days. Threw it up with my birds, peeling. No band, check, just peeling. And it happened on several occasions. So being able to see birds' expression and stuff like that, to be able to really read it, is really hard, and I don't think none of us can really do it with accuracy as far as if the bird gonna be a hard worker. It might be a good spinner. It might be the Plus good spin. But right now we're talking about work. How did I get to the point where I was considered good? So first I had to think about what was the way I thought, my thought process. My thought was birds that roll all the time. I felt if you get enough birds that roll all the time together, there's no way your kick can be flat, and you probably won't get the big breaks, but you're gonna always get some breaks if these birds are always rolling. You might 5 and 5, 6, 7 on the depth, but you're gonna have birds always rolling. And every now and then you probably can get a big break here and there. That's later on. So what did I do? I lined my loft with birds that always rolled no matter what. I didn't think about who they came from or where they came from, but just always rolled and balled up real good with some good depth, right? So that's how I thought at first. So when I had the Lehmeyer birds, they come in early and they roll all the time, but they didn't hold over well. Actually, I wasn't even holding over birds. They didn't last because they was getting too excessive, and my birds flew. If people who knew me back in the 90s, they knew my birds flew low. So Lehmeyer birds couldn't work it, bred the way they were. So I brought in something else that was a good spinner and fixed it, but it made them a little more seldom, a little faster, but they were safer. But the thing is, I was flying kick competition, so I needed the birds to be frequent and always rolling. Rolling together, the big numbers didn't come till later. What I figured out was, locally, if my birds roll 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and keep doing it over and over and over for 20 minutes, and end up with 20-something breaks, close to 30 breaks, between 5 and 7, with a quality of 1.3, depth 1.3, I would win most competitions locally, most. And that's how I thought. But when I was getting the 7s and 5 to 7s, I was trying to figure out how I can get to 8 to 10. What's the difference? And I went to some people's house and I saw them 8 and 10 bird break. What was the difference? Nobody didn't say nothing about no kit sensitivity. They weren't talking that at all. They was talking more so birds or lines of birds instead of those traits like that. So then it was like, at that time, the popular birds then for the breaks were the jackanapes pigeons. So I went to San Diego, saw a few kits, saw Jerry kit, saw Rob Parker kit. Rob Parker kit was the best out there. Jerry had the most rollers. Johnny wasn't there yet. He wasn't out there flying like that yet. Was Abel flying? I think Abel was more into his racing at that time. But he had pigeons, he was more really racing. Tim Decker didn't have those birds, but his birds broke serious. I mean, they broke. So, what did I do? I got a bird from Tim Decker. That was really good. And I bought another one from a show. I hadn't bought Jerry birds just yet. And that made them a little better. I wasn't getting 10s and 12s, but I was getting 8s. You know, stuff. I started getting 8s and stuff like that with the quality. So my process, what I did in the earlier days was I always had birds that rolled all the time, no matter what. Color didn't matter. The line of birds really didn't matter because it wasn't about the line of birds at that time. You know, so it didn't matter. You're talking about the 90s. You're not talking about the 2000s, talking about the 90s. So I did that. But I did figure out, when I went to see John Jones birds one time and Roy Traherne birds, I kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And there's another dude up there that was flying some birds too. Up there. The dude's like I can't think of his name, but his house was up, and then behind his house was like a cliff and it was water. He flew some nice birds too. Always rolled, and they rolled together. I think they DQ'd, if I'm not mistaken, but they did roll together. So, but I found out all them dudes had in common, they all had the jackanet type pigeons in common, and Norm Reed birds in common. Except for John Jones. He had the colorful birds. All here, Andalusians, opals, white bars, almond, maybe I think it was some almonds, maybe. We had regular colored birds too, red checks, you know, blue checks and stuff like that, blue bars and stuff like that too. But his birds worked extremely well. So I'm looking at these birds, but I hadn't bought any. I hadn't got any of those birds yet. I'm still trying to work my way through what I had already, right? So I'm just watching for a while, but at the time, I was doing other stuff, so sports and a little extra side hustling. So I wasn't 100% invested in the rollers like that. You know what I'm saying? So hold on for a minute. All right, I had to go take care of something real quick. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. So, so even though I wasn't totally invested, I was still able to become in one of the top 3 places in our club in ICRC, and still able to win West Side. But as time went on, I started getting more invested and started thinking more about trying to win the competitions, the bigger competitions, how to get in there, how to compete. And I knew I couldn't do it the way I was doing it. So Henry Lumpkins, Sanford Johnson had these jackanet and Plona pigeons. So Henry gave me a few, and I ended up getting a few from Sanford that came straight from jackanet. Tried them, and there was an immediate change. Like immediate, more so with the jackanets than the Plona birds, but immediate change. When I say immediate, like immediately. So that was working for me. Only thing about it, the quality went down a little bit on some of the best birds. They was going straight back, but the wings dropped some, but the work rate picked up. So then I figure out I need to keep the work rate, but get the quality back up. And I got it back up. The work rate went down just a little bit. The quality did go up. Then I figured out the 2 jackanet birds I had several actually. I had bought some for some shows, and I bought one that everybody was after. I'm trying to remember who I got it from, but they was after it. I mean, they wanted that bird bad. And I ended up just letting somebody get it. I can't remember who it was though. It was supposed to be one of the main birds, one of the main jackanet birds, but I didn't know that at the time because I never bred off of it. Anyway, fast forward past that. The jackanet birds, the one hen, I think her band number was, let me think if I can think of her band number, 4669 or 4996 or something like that. She was really good. She's still part of my, both of them still part of my birds runner, but she had a really big impact. She threw speed, quality, and she threw birds that work. Matter of fact, with one of her sons, I won best individual in our club. I won with my bronze cock first, and I put that bronze cock on the hen. I won best individual again in the club with birds off that bird. So it worked out. I mean, it really worked out. Okay, so I had a goal was to be able to compete with the other guys, not actually win. Winning would have been fine, but I just want to be on the same playing field with them, be able to compete with them. So in 1998, I called Jerry up and asked him if he have some birds for sale. He said, not right now. And then I called him again a few months later. He said, well, I have 2 cocks, but Bruce want one of them. He said what he wanted for him, and then when I'm gonna let Bruce take both of them. Then you decide you gotta work that out. I'll take this amount for him. So when Bruce came, I looked at the birds. I picked one. Let me pick first. I picked one. Which I picked 263. I gave Bruce the money, give it to Jerry, and Bruce gave it to pay Jerry. So all was good. That was the white heat cock. He was off 970, I think 970, and double out 25. I think those Howard Brothers system made with the white heat stuff. So that's how 263 was made, and that started a change too. And then a few months later, I got the Bull Eye Spaniel, which was I was double out 13 and 675 from Jerry. 675 bird was most of the San Diego Jack and that stuff. But double out 13 was a 45 blood. Top and bottom. 45. Double out 13 was right off 45. Directly off 45. So it was a grandson of the 45 on top. And a grandson to Black Magic on the bottom. I mean on the other double out 13 Black Magic. So it was cool. It worked out for me. And that bird's a lot of my birds right now. Them 2 birds changed everything. Changed my whole everything. It got to the point in ICRC where it wasn't even fair. It was it became too easy. And then I got a couple of birds from Johnny, and that made it even easier. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm talking about the way I thought is what's important. I talked to people like Jerry. I talked to Norm Reed. Only thing what Norm Reed did, Norm Reed made it seem too simple. And it wasn't simple like he was making it seem. He tell you stuff, but he never really tell you the secret how to really unlock his birds. So what everybody did that did well with his birds, they really did well with his birds, they was competing and really doing well, they changed up some stuff. And they made it so they didn't have to talk to Norm to get the best out of them. And that's what I saw. Robert Parker had the blood. He did it a little different with his old stuff. It was, I think, 85 and 42 stuff with that. Just some remarkable kids in his house at Robert Parker house. The work rate is like what people talk about and see now, but it was somebody here. Robert Parker and I went to Jerry house, same thing. So Jerry used to have more birds. And then when Johnny started flying, almost the same thing. So what they did was took them birds and manipulated them birds to fit them and their agenda. And it worked out. And they had it to a point where if you got birds from them, it worked out for you that way too. You didn't have to bring nothing in, actually. But you have to spend the money to get the right birds. So my thought was, I need to bring some of that in. So I hit up Robert, hit up Jerry first. I think then Robert, then Johnny. I got birds off the one from Robert. I let Bruce use the one hen I had left. I had a few birds from Johnny I kept for a while. And Jerry I kept for a while. So that was my thought process, is to bring in and build what I really wanted. And my thought process, I always have birds rolling all the time, period. Setting up for the breaks was a plus. And it made it easier. So when I crossed them birds to what I already had, it was the best I had to some of the best they had. The sky was the limit. I just, had other things. Life happened. The federal government happened, and it changed everything. I mean, Birds of Prey was happening still, but that's just my outlook on how I got started and how I actually kind of got good. What happened with the Lee-Meyer birds is, let me go back there. When I crossed those with the smoke birds, they were too hot. They couldn't keep, the bumping and roll down rate ratio was up to about 75%. Like high. But I noticed that if I bred, I only had 3 or 4 pair of smoke birds at that time, and I had 19 pair total. Only 3 or 4 were smoke. I had Smoke, her mama. I had 3, and her brother. Those are only 3 smoke pairs I had. But I had 1220, Lee-Meyer, and red-headed hen. Now, I wish I still had the red-headed hen birds. Those ones I wish I still had that blood right now. But I don't. I moved past it. Anyway, when I didn't take the smoke birds, when I took the smoke birds to the Norwood birds via Arnold Jackson, Juan Navarro, and maybe 1 or 2 from Speedy or Edio, those birds still worked. They didn't work like they used to work, but they still worked. And I didn't have no problems. Nowhere. That was a cool mate. The Lee-Meyer birds to the Norwood birds, phenomenal rollers, but they didn't work. I mean, they weren't workers. They were just quality spinners. If I flew a kid of those, I might get 6 breaks. I might. And they're going to be like 5 or 6. They ain't going to be no big breaks. Not a whole lot of individual. But when they came out of there sweet. But at the end of the year, when I go do my assessments, I had more smoke birds left that were rolling than I had of the other birds. And I only had 3 pair. So I'm like, wait a minute. And these are the workers. They weren't deep though. They was anywhere between 5 to 20 feet, but always working, no matter what. No matter what. Always. Not really kissing, but they're always working, right? Now, the other birds, which were the 1220 Lee-Meyer and all them birds, I had like 16 pair of those. But it was always more smoke birds left to end. I have 2 or 3 kits with about 50 of them, 45, 50 of them, the smoke side. You know what I'm saying? Them 3 pair just at the end of the year. Even if some was left from the previous year, but there'd still be more of them left than the other ones. So I said, you know what? But that's when I decided to cross them, and that was a mistake. Them suckers was bumping everywhere. Coming in at 2, 3 months old, it's rolling, boom, boom. Coming in, boom, boom. I'm like, oh. So I had to make a decision. Somebody got to go. So I chose to go with the ones that's always there, which were the smoke birds, and let the other ones go. And that's how the smoke family just became. It was the smoke stuff. Only thing I brought in back in the day was the Norwood base birds. But from most of the better ones was from Arnold Jackson and Juan Navarro. Those were the better ones. I got some good spinners from the ones from ADO and Speedy back then. They were faster. Don't get me wrong, those were the faster ones, but those wasn't the working ones. That was consistently working. The ones that Arnold was. But what happened was, when I kept going that way, is the birds started getting, I was starting to get nice breaks, but seldom. That's when I bring in the Jack and Net birds, and that boosted up a little bit. Then I bring in the Jerry birds, and that took me to a whole nother level. So that's kind of pretty much what I did to get good. Got to the point where I was good, and I went straight outside of that for nothing. I had the smoke birds, so either I would go to one of my friends, get another smoke, brings more smoke in, or I just would bring that stuff in. But what happened was, at one time I brought too much in, and the kitten started spreading out. It wasn't tight no more. So that's what it was. And I'm gonna go forward from. I got one forward from there. But this been about 20-something minutes. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna cut this one short. I'm gonna do another one probably today, sometime today. But it's gonna be on a different subject. So with that being said, select, breed, fly, select again, and repeat the process. That's all we're doing over and over and over. Peace.